Hey, what's going on everyone? Doing some more work on the 99 Honda Accord today, and I'll be replacing the front and rear struts. Take a look real quick what I got. Just went with the Gabriel Guardians. I got these off Rock Auto for seriously like $7 a piece. It's not the whole strut with spring assembly, it's just the struts alone. And I'll put a link in the description so you can check that out. And then also got 4 brand new strut cushions, which include new boots. And then I just went by O'Reilly's and rented the strut spring compressor tool. There's the number on that, so you can check that out as well. First thing you'll want to do is go ahead and pop your hood. And then I'm going to start out with the front ones first. So go ahead and block your rear wheel. And then go ahead and locate your arrow just behind your front tire there. And we'll put our jack and start jacking it up. And then for extra safety, you can just go ahead and put a jack stand right under here. Next, go ahead and remove your wheel. It's going to be a 19mm. So next we need to remove this lower fork on the strut. So you have a 17mm bolt here, along with a 17mm bolt on the back side there. So go ahead and remove that. Next you're going to undo the top upper fork bolt, which is going to be a 14mm. And now you should be able to remove this. Pull that out. And as you can see, that slid right off of the strut real easy. So you can just kind of leave it there out of the way. Now up top underneath the hood here, you got 3 14mm bolts you're going to have to loosen up. And then these 2 as well that are going on this bracket. Those are going to be a 12mm. And then as you loosen these 2, you may want to kind of hold on to the strut down below, just so it doesn't fall. And then you'll just need to maneuver it out of here. So you can kind of tilt it towards the back of the car there. Pull it out like that. So next we'll go ahead and remove the old strut from the spring. And what I like to use is a vise. Seems to work the best. If not, you can do this on the floor as well. But I just like to put my old strut in here and tighten it up. Next, go ahead and grab your spring compressor kit. And you'll want to, these little tabs here, push those in. And you want to, this is going to be a 19mm, and you want these to be on top. And you're just going to kind of put them in under the spring there. And then feed this top one in as well. And then just kind of rotate it, tighten it up a little bit, just kind of get it on the back side here. Grab your other one, same thing. And when you guys are using these, be very careful. They also call these widow makers, because I guess people have died from using these. So just be careful when you're doing this. And you want these to be kind of on the opposite side of each other to compress that spring evenly. So I think I'll go probably right there. And then just tighten these by hand until they start to get pretty tight. And then once you get those pretty much even across from each other, you'll want to go ahead and push on these. And this will, maybe. And that kind of locks these in place. I don't know why that one, there we go. So with those tight, and with your safety latches here, like that, you'll want to grab two 19mm wrenches, and I just like to go same amount of turns evenly. So you just want to tighten these, and as you're doing that, that'll bring this top down and slowly compress that spring to take the tension off. So go ahead and just keep tightening these. Alright, so that should be about good. As you can see, the spring is now compressed pretty good. So go ahead and remove this nut up here. And then this nut's going to be a 14mm. And then you also need to get a 5mm hex to put inside there, because this shaft will most likely turn when you go to loosen this nut. So go ahead and stick your 14mm on there, along with your hex. And loosen that up. For some reason this is really hard to turn off of here. There we go. Then go ahead and remove this washer. And then you should be able to remove this whole mount. So just lift that off. And then just take note, you got this bushing here that we're going to reuse along with that sleeve. So that'll sit like that. And then you also got this top bushing as well here. And then you can go ahead and remove this piece as well. That just slides off of there like that. And then you got a washer on top of that. And then down in here, you got another washer. You may need to kind of pop loose. That one as well. Now you can go ahead and remove your strut from your vise. And then grab you a large flathead screwdriver. And I'm just going to kind of pry right here in between the strut and the spring. And that kind of releases it from the spring there. And then just go ahead and pull the strut out here. You may have to force it out a little bit to get it past the spring compressors here. Just like that. And as you can see, the boot's pretty tore up along with the cushion as well. So that's why I bought new ones. And then also I'll show you, let's see how bad they were. If we compress this, you can see how slow it takes to come back out. So that's another reason why I'm replacing them. So go ahead and grab your new strut. Again, that's going to be the part number. And That's what it looks like. And then you can go ahead and remove this little spring on here. And you can see how much faster that one pops out. And then go ahead and remove this nut. And take your new boot. Go ahead and slide that on here. And then you can just kind of push this down around here. Turning it if you have to. Just kind of like that. Now let's go ahead and put it back into the spring. And if you take note, you can see on here this little divot here and how it's the lowest part of the strut. That's where the spring is going to sit, right here, which is going to be the end of the spring will sit right into this dip here. So go ahead and slide this in. And then you'll want to turn it to where you can see that spring is going to sit right up against this and then that wall here, just like that. Now let's go ahead and mount our new strut back into the vise here. Just be careful not to damage it. And then we'll go ahead and start assembling the top again. So take your washer that we removed, put that on first. And then go ahead and grab this cap. Cap goes on. And then along with this washer, and then go ahead and put your top back on. Again, this was the piece that goes on like that, and then this just sits on top. And now when you're doing this, you'll want to look, and you can see right here is where the spring starts, and then it comes around. So you want this piece here to match up with that. So kind of like that. Set that on. And you may need to turn it however you need to get that to line up correctly. So kind of like that. And then grab your other washer, and you can see which side goes down, which is going to be this side. Set that on. Grab your new nut, and let's go ahead and put that on there. And then before you totally tighten it, make sure again that this is turned the right way to where that spring starts. Just like that. And then go ahead and tighten that. And then the new nut on here is going to be a 15 millimeter, and then the shaft is going to be a Torx T27. So go ahead and stick that in there. And then the torque for this, they say, is like 22 foot-pounds, but it's pretty hard to get a torque wrench on here without that shaft turning. So I'm just going to kind of go by hand. So go ahead and tighten that nut. So with that tied up there, we can go ahead and start loosening the spring compressors. Again, just make sure this is up against here, the bottom of the spring. And I can't stress enough, be careful while you're messing with these because there's a lot of tension on this spring. So grab your 19 millimeters and we'll start loosening these evenly. And I might just do, because you see this wants to turn on me, so I might just do one at a time. Loosen, and then also loosen. Then you go ahead and loosen them by hand once you get pretty much all loosened up. And then pull on these. And then try to get these out of here. You have to rotate them a little bit. Loosen this one more. Just like that. And then you go ahead and pull it out of your vice grip here. And we should be ready to put it back in the car. Alright, so now we should be ready to put it up in the car here. Before I do that, I just want to show you guys. Let me grab this fork here. So this fork will sit in there like that. But I want to show you on the back side here. You can see how there's this gap here. Now this gap is going to fit in between this little tab here on the back side of the strut. So this will slide on there. See if I can do this with one hand. But this will slide up on here. Hang on, let me set the camera down. So this will sit on here like this, and this will slide up here, and you can see how it kind of fits in that groove there, because you want to make sure this is all the way up against the strut there. So that little groove is going to sit inside this little gap here. So now let me get this back off and sitting up there. So now let's go ahead and put the new strut up in there. And then just like removal, just shove it up in there and turn it however you need to. There we go. Just kind of take your time getting it up in there. And then go ahead and feed it up here. Make sure your holes line up correctly. There's only one way that it'll go up in here. Like that. And remember your smaller nuts here go on this cross member bracket. And then you go ahead and snug those up. And then we'll do our final torque. And then the torque for these two is going to be 47 foot-pounds. And then these three are going to be 28 foot-pounds. Next, you can go ahead and get your bolt ready and put your fork on here. And you may need to just push down on this just to get it past that. Just like that. And then, like I said, that gap there needs to go inside there. Once you get that flush, the fork flush with the strut here, go ahead and put your bolt in. And we'll torque that here in a minute. And then we'll go ahead and do our lower fork bolt here. And then, like I said, you may need to push down on this like that, just to get that bolt through. And then your nut on the other side here. Grab your 17mm wrench, and then your torque wrench, and the lower fork is going to be 47 foot-pounds. So go ahead and torque that down. Then grab your 15mm, and the torque for the upper fork is going to be 32 foot-pounds. Get your wheel, throw your wheel back on. And then go ahead and torque your lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. Alright, so with this one done, I'm going to go ahead and move to the other side. I'm not going to record that because it's pretty much the same exact procedures as the passenger side here. And then once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and move on to the rear struts. Alright, so I just finished up with the driver front here, and it was exactly the same as the passenger side. So I'll go ahead and move on to the rear. And then I was just kind of taking a quick look to figure out how I'm going to get these out of here. You can see the strut right there. So I popped the hood, and thought maybe I can access it from here, but this is just solid metal behind this, so I'm not going to be able to get it from there. So it looks like I need to come in through the back seat here. And I think I'm gonna have to remove this bottom piece along with this side piece, and then this top should fold down. So I got to messing around, and you can pop this up like that to get access under there, but it still wasn't coming out. So I kind of got to looking around, and see if I can set the camera here. But right in here, you can see it right there is a 10mm bolt that I need to remove in order to remove this bottom piece. And it seems like that is the only one, because I looked over here and there's nothing over here. So let me grab a 10mm and we'll pull that off real quick. So now with that bolt out of there, let's see if we can get this off. So that came out pretty easy. So all I gotta do is pop up. I think same thing on this side. Just like that. And yeah, it just comes out of there. As you can see, that was the little spot that was holding it on with the bolt. And then looks like these just push in here and just snap into place there. So we'll go ahead and pull this out. So now we need to get this piece off here, and looks like now we got access to a 10mm bolt here. So let's go ahead and pull that off. So now let's see if I can get this piece off here. And it looks like I need to lift up on here. Yeah. So just push up on it. can see, that's where you need to push up on so it gets out of that little clip up here. So with that out, as you can see, we still don't have enough room to get the old one out. So it looks like we're gonna have to fold this seat down. So go ahead and grab your key, come back here, stick that in, and turn that to the unlock. And go ahead and fold that down. Alright, so with that seat down, now we got this panel in the way. So it looks like I need to remove that other side first before I can get this off. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, so I got this other side off here. Now let's see if we can get this piece off. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's just held in by, it just pops into place. I just hate pulling on plastic this old because it'll break. So let's just try it. There we go. Try this out. There we go. Alright, and then it looks like I can feel it. Just go down with it. There we go. You can see it's just those clips there, and then there's kind of this lip that you need to slide off. Alright, so that should be all the trim pieces we need to remove. Now we got plenty of access here. But before I go ahead and start pulling these, I'm going to go ahead and jack it up and see what we need to do outside the car first. And then I'm going to go ahead and just put a block behind the front wheel before I start jacking up the rear end here. Just like the fronts, go ahead and locate your arrow there, and we'll start jacking up right there. So looking at the strut here, looks like we need to pull that 17mm bolt right there. And if you look at the back side here, looks like the nut is welded onto that bracket, so you shouldn't need a wrench on this side. And then next I'm going to go ahead and remove the brake lines. You got a 10mm here for the ABS sensor, and then your brake line one down there is going to be a 14mm. So let's go ahead and take those off. And this bolt here was a 12mm, not a 14. Next I'll go ahead and take off this bracket, and that's going to be a 14mm. So with that off, now you should be able to get this bracket out of the way here that your sway bar link's connected to. Just kind of pop it off like that. And then you can get this brake line off of here. And then just kind of rotate this up out of the way. Just kind of like that. And there's what it looks like. So you can kind of just rotate that up out of the way. So now we should be able to get this out of here. Then go ahead and hop in your car, and we'll undo the two 14mm bolts. And as you're taking this last one off, you may want to just kind of hold the strut so it doesn't fall on the outside here. And then you can just kind of let it drop, and it should snag on something down there. So now with that down, drop down, we can see if we can get this out of here. You just have to kind of rotate it. And then you may just have to push down on this just to get it past this point here. Just like that. Then go ahead and mount it in your vise. This one's a lot taller, so I'm gonna just mount it like this, sideways. And just like the fronts, we'll go ahead and use our spring compressors. Put one probably about right here. Just get that somewhat tight. And then opposite side. And then just like before, go ahead and grab your 19mm or 3/4, and we'll start tightening these evenly. Okay, and that should be enough because you can see the spring is moving now. Let me go ahead and grab your 5mm or your 7/32 Allen head and 14mm, and we'll go ahead and take this off. Goes. Pull that washer off, and then you can pull this off. And then this washer here, it's gonna go like that. And then you should be able to just pull your whole spring off here. Again, just be careful with your compressors here. And then looks like this boot is all one piece here. Just kind of pull that off like that. And this boot actually looks like it's in good shape still. And then go ahead and pull this off. So if I can get that washer undone. Pull your bump stop off. And let's see how, if this one was bad or not. And yeah, as you can see, that's why I'm replacing it, because it's not even coming out on its own anymore. Grab your new strut. Again, I'm just gonna mount it like this. Just try not to damage it, so don't go too tight on this. Then go ahead and pull this off, and you can see it comes out right away. Pull your nut off. Alright, so I grabbed my new bump stop and boot, and as you can tell, this is totally different. So I double checked my part numbers, and it still says that this 143063 is supposed to go to this car, but you can tell that definitely is not right. So I won't be using that. And like I said, you can tell this one totally different, and it looks like it's still in good shape. Same with the bump stop. So I'm just going to go ahead and reuse it. And I was kind of looking, this old strut, get it back out here, does not have this piece on it. And I double checked this part number as well, and this, it says it's the one that's supposed to be for this car. So that's kind of different, but we'll see if we can make these work. So this bump stop will just go on here. You gotta kind of force it, I think, on here. Because you gotta get it past this point here. So just kind of, like I said, force it on there. About like that. Actually, I think I went too far, so let's pull out a little more. So about like that. And I'll show you. So I got it just before it hits that little washer thing that's on there. So then you can grab your other washer here, and that side goes down just like that. And then go ahead and grab your old boot there, and you can see how this part's going to go right up against here. So go ahead and slide that on. Slide it past that. And then just kind of press it on here. Like that. Go ahead and grab your spring. Slide that over. And then once again, make sure that lines up. Grab your top, this washer, stick that on, and then again, you can see where the spring started right here and wrapped around. So you want to make sure that's lined up correctly. And we'll have to uncompress the spring a little bit for that to line up where it needs to be. And then show you real quick here as well. You want to make sure you get this lined up correctly because it needs to fit in the car a certain way. So these two mounting studs here need to be the same exact way like they are right now as the bottom one here. So those need to look exactly like that, line up so it goes into the car correctly. Then go ahead and grab your washer and then your new nut. Get that started. And again, this will be a 15 millimeter. So go ahead and tighten that as much as you can until it starts turning on you. Once that starts turning, you got to use some vice grips and connect onto there, and then go ahead and tighten it the rest of the way. Now we should be ready to start uncompressing the spring. Grab your your 19mm 3/4, and just again make sure this is lined up correctly with the bottom, and this is also lined up, and then same thing where it starts. You may have to move the spring a little bit as you're loosening it to get it to line up correctly inside here. So again, I'll just do it evenly. Alright, so just like that, as you saw, as it was starting to slowly uncompress, I was able to move this and get it in the perfect position right here, and then also there. And it looks like our mounting studs here are even with our mounting bolt there at the bottom, so we should be good. So let's go ahead and get it in the car here. And again, just like removal, stick your bottom end in down here first, and then push down on this to get the part underneath the fender here. Or you can use your probably your foot too, like that. Just kind of set it right here for now. We'll go ahead and jump inside. Then go ahead and pull your strut through. You may need someone else to help you, or you can reach around like I'm doing and get it up in there. Like that. Grab your 14mm. And I'm just going to tighten these now. I think the recommended torque's like 37 foot-pounds. But I'm just going to tighten them by hand here. And then go ahead and grab this bracket, swing it back around here. Goes down like this, I think. And then I'm going to go ahead and try to get this bolt through. I'm going to use a pry bar here. Go right underneath here so I can bring this down. And then make sure this is lined up correctly as well. This bracket, so your bolt goes through. Then go ahead and start prying down on it. You may have to adjust this a little bit. Get that through. Try to get that started. Or move down on this a little bit more. There we go. Then go ahead and tighten that through the bracket here. So before I tighten that all the way, let's go ahead and get this bracket bolt in. Same with our brake lines here. This should just slide in here. Grab your 12 millimeter. Get that started. Same with your 10 millimeter here. And then your 14 for your bracket. Go ahead and tighten those up. Then you go ahead and torque your strut bolt here. And Honda calls for right at 43 foot-pounds on that. Go ahead and put your tire and wheel back on. And just like the fronts, go ahead and torque these to 80 foot-pounds. Alright, so I'll go ahead and do the driver's side really quick, but I won't record that because it should be the same procedures as well. And then once that's done, we'll go ahead and start putting the seat back in. Alright, so I just finished up the driver's side. Is exactly the same as the passenger. Only a little difference here was you got a little less clearance right here because of the gas fill tube lines coming down there. But other than that, it was the same exact thing. Back seat together here. Grab your trim piece here. Remember these, you gotta kind of curl under this. That just kind of pops into place like that. Grab your side pieces here. And remember, these go up and then push down into here. Grab your 10 millimeter. Go ahead and tighten this down. Once you get both sides on, you can go ahead and lift your seat back up here. And lock that. Then go ahead and grab your lower seat. Get your buckles up out of the way. Then go ahead and snap in the lower part. Grab your 10 millimeter that we took out. And go ahead and tighten that down. Alright, so that's going to do it for the video. Again, this was a 1999 Honda Accord. Went ahead and replaced the front and rear struts. I'm not sure on the quality of those Gabriel Guardians, but we'll find out. Like I said in some of my other videos, I picked this car up for $700 for my teenage daughter. And I figured those struts were better than nothing. And since I was able to reuse the rear boots and all that, all 4 struts probably cost me about $50 is all for this car. So I'll go ahead and probably get it aligned. Anytime I do suspension work like this, I like to go and get it aligned just to make sure the tires are going to wear evenly. And if you haven't already, check out some of my other videos. I got other ones on this car, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.